Hey everybody, and welcome to Pro on YouTube. Now for people who clicked on the link on the website, welcome. And for people who just stumbled on this video, let me explain what's going on. Musetta Stone is an online music magazine that I started with a bunch of my friends back in 2010 in August. Well, since then, we've grown from 4 members to 9 members, and most of us write articles. Some of us also do concert reviews and CD reviews, and we also interview some of our friends who are up and coming in the music world. You can find such people like Lisa Tahara, Kuba Ohms, Roko Code, and Carly and Julie Kennedy. Now, Pro is one of many articles you can find on Musetta Stone. We also have articles that talk about music and education, music and style, experiences found in the opera world and also in recording and composition, and also gear that you can find for recording purposes and amplification purposes and bands. So there's bound to be something that you're going to find and that you'll like on Musetta Stone. So please find us on the link below. You can also like us on YouTube and on Facebook. Now, let me also explain what Pro is. Pro is an article that I write that talks about my experiences while performing, both good and bad, in the hopes that you guys can learn from me so then you guys don't do the same bad mistakes in the future. Now, in my last issue in February, we talked about different things that you need to be concerned about when performing on stage. And this issue, I'd like to delve a little bit deeper into something that we all do when performing, and that is bowing. Now, most people that I've worked with do know how to bow, when to bow, and what type of bow. But there have been some people that have been extremely awkward when it comes to bowing, not knowing what to do, when to do it, or how to do it. So this article is going to explain to you the things that you shouldn't do when you're bowing. Number 1. Know when to bow. The general rule of thumb for bowing is to bow before and after a performance, but bowing should only happen if you are acknowledging the audience. Audiences like to be acknowledged when they're clapping, so if there's no clapping before you perform, don't bow. This simple rule also applies to the opposite. Please bow if there is clapping. The audience will find it extremely rude if they're clapping and you decide to just play. So, let's recap. If there's no applause, don't bow. If there is applause, bow. Pretty simple. Number 2, know how to bow together. Firstly, when you're bowing, please look down and not look at the audience. That looks really creepy. Secondly, the length of the bow is also very important. I find that bowing before with a shorter bow and bowing after with a longer bow works pretty well. But the general rule of thumb is to just count 2 to 3 seconds for each bow. Something too fast and too long can also look extremely awkward on stage. Thirdly, something to take into consideration is the amount of time you take between bowing and performing. As a piano player, after I bow, it takes a fair bit of time for me to get to my instrument, sit down, and perform. So this is already naturally built into the way that I perform. But for someone like a singer or other instrumentalists who are holding their instruments when they're bowing, it does look more nice if you take a little bit of time after bowing before you perform. Performing right after you bow might sound rushed and might also make you look anxious and also nervous. And what if you have a partner in crime when you're performing? So many people work so hard to make themselves sound amazing together, but forget that bowing is also part of the performance experience. So please take some time out of your busy schedule to learn how to bow together so you don't end up doing this. or this, or even this. The way that I tackle this is to always figure out who's initiating the bow. It's always nice to follow the leader. Now, as a piano player, because I'm always behind, I always let the instrumentalist take over as the boss when it comes to bowing. Something that I like to do is to make eye contact with my instrumentalist before we bow together. This helps in that they know that I'm ready to bow, and when we do bow together, it looks very professional. Now let's talk about the end bow together. Something that I find happens when you have a piano player in your group is that often you finish and then the instrumentalist starts bowing without waiting for the pianist. This really pisses me off. Remember, however good or however bad the performance was, you're performing with someone else, and you should have the courtesy to wait for them before bowing. So please, after you perform, wait for your pianist to stand up beside you, bow together, because it looks really awkward if you don't. And what if you're in a larger ensemble? I find that treble instruments like the flute or violin are easier to follow simply because they're usually put closer to the audience, away from the back of the stage like where the piano is. Someone that's visually accessible also would be easier, so whoever's on the edge of the stage would be easiest without having everybody in the group to turn around or anything to make it look awkward. And number 3, bowing faux pas. For the girls, the dress that you're going to be wearing will definitely influence the way that you can bow. For example, if you're going to wear a very deep V in the front, might I suggest double-sided tape?
Shima, too much boom! Up tight!
And please, try on your dress earlier rather than later. I know a colleague who tried on her dress the day before a performance and realized it was too tight, but it was too late for her to perform in something else that she found more comfortable. So in the end, her performance was compromised. And for the guys, there's just some really simple things I want you to consider. Firstly, please make sure your bow ties and your ties are straight. And lastly, please check your fly that it's not down before you go on to perform. And lastly, for both the girls and guys, bowing with your legs side by side has always worked throughout the ages. I've had a friend who decided to bow with one leg in front of the other, and it worked, but it made her look like a figure skater or a magician. I think the awkward part was the fact that I had bowed normally and she had bowed that style, so it kind of made it look really awkward on the stage. But please, certainly don't bow with your legs spread apart. So I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a thing or two about bowing. I'd like to give a shout out to my friends Shima and Keith. Once again, please like us on YouTube and like us on Facebook, and follow us on MusettaStone.com. Till next time, happy performing!